Today, we'll talk about the story of Afonja, a mighty general from the old Oyo Empire. Afonja was known for his war strategies, his courage, and his bold stand against a king he believed was a tyrant. He wanted freedom for his people, but the choices he made to get that freedom would be the one to eventually enslave the same people he wanted to set free. Was Afonja a hero who stood against tyranny? Or was he a traitor whose choices opened the gates of his empire to foreign rule? As you listen, I invite you to reflect and decide the answer to that question for yourself. Welcome to the story of Afonja, the man who defied a king and reshaped the destiny of an entire region. A long time ago, in a land wrapped in mystery and legend, there was a forest feared by all who knew of it. It was thick and dark, filled with shadows that moved and creatures that howled through the night. Hunters who dared enter rarely returned, and if they did, they were often maimed or haunted by what they had seen. But in this fearful place lived one brave man, Ladarin. Ladarin was not like other hunters. He was clever, bold, and possessed a secret power. With the aid of magical potions, he could transform himself into an elephant, strong and mighty. This helped him survive the dangers of the forest, and soon, he built a hut in this forest. Travelers and other hunters began stopping by to rest. Over time, the forest clearing turned into a settlement. And from that, a town was created and called Ilorin, with Ladarin as its founder and first leader. Generations passed, and from the line of Ladarin came a boy named Afonja. Before his birth, his parents consulted a priest. This was a sacred custom where the parents of a child would go to an oracle who would reveal the fate of the unborn child. The priest stared into the flames and said, "This boy shall be great. He will be feared and honored across the land. But a time will come when he will face a terrible test. If he fails, his people will suffer. He must beware." Afonja's parents remembered this prophecy as they raised him. They taught him honor, strength, and discipline. As a boy, Afonja followed his father into the wild, hunting with quiet footsteps and sharp eyes. He also fell in love with wrestling, particularly a fierce form of it called Gidigbo. Soon, he became famous in Ilorin and across the kingdom for his strength and skill. His name was sung by children and warriors alike. As he grew older, Afonja joined the military forces of the Oyo Empire. His courage and strength in battle caught the attention of the Alafin of Oyo, a wise and strong ruler named Abiodun. The king summoned Afonja to his court. "I have heard of your bravery, young man," said the king. "You fight not just with weapons, but with the spirit of the gods. I like you and want you to be one of my ally." From that day forward, Afonja became a trusted figure in the palace. He visited often, and some even whispered that he might be chosen as the next king. But fate had other plans. There was a prince named Haole, who believed he was destined to rule. He was proud, cunning, and envious of Afonja's growing fame. Many years passed, but Haole couldn't wait for King Abiodun to die on his own. Eager for the crown, he hastened the king's journey to the afterlife, poisoning him in secret, and claimed the throne for himself. As Alafin, Haole ruled with a harsh hand. He sent people into slavery for small offenses, and his greed knew no bounds. But while Haole spread fear, Afonja's reputation only grew. Afonja had become Harer Orner Kinkanfo, the generalissimo of the Oyo army. He led victories across vast territories, and people respected him more than the king himself. Haole grew resentful and jealous of Afonja's reputation. One night, the king dreamt that Afonja would take over the empire. He woke with a new plan and immediately sent a messenger to Afonja. "My king wants you to attack the land of Uwarehilu and bring me him the head of its leader." The messenger said. Afonja stood still. His heart sank. He had made a promise long ago to the former king, Abiodun, never to harm Uwarehilu. That town was special, for it was the hometown of Abiodun's mother. Even more, Afonja knew something few others did not know. A past king, known as a Jagbo, had placed a curse on anyone who dared to attack the town. Only members of the royal family knew about it, which meant that Haole was aware of the curse. Afonja only found out about the curse through the late king, who had trusted Afonja deeply and told him the secret. Now, Afonja understood. This was no simple command. The king wanted him dead. "He's trying to get rid of me," Afonja shouted, burning with anger and betrayal. Without a second thought, he killed the palace guard who had brought the message. Then he rode back to Oyo and called a meeting with the council of chiefs. There, before all of them, Afonja told them what had happened. The chiefs listened, and together they made a decision. They would no longer follow King Haole. In Yoruba tradition, when a king is rejected, he must commit suicide. The Basharan, leader of the council, handed Haole an empty calabash, which meant that his time as king was over. Haole accepted his fate. But before he ended his life, he placed a terrible curse on the land. "May the people of this land never be united again," he said. "And when you send your children on errands, may they never return, for they will be taken captives and sold as slaves." And with those words, he died. With the king dead, Afonja returned to Ilorin, filled with anger and bitterness. He separated Ilorin from the rest of the Yoruba states and declared that Ilorin would no longer serve the Oyo Empire. And with that, Afonja became its sole independent ruler. Ilorin was a crossroads of cultures. The majority were Yorubas, but others lived there too: Hausa, Nupe, and settlers from other land. One day, Afonja's friend Shola Baro introduced him to a Fulani cleric, Shehu Alimi. Alimi was an Islamic teacher who went across the land spreading the teachings of Islam. When Afonja met him, he accepted him into Ilorin alongside his tribesmen, the Fulanis. When the Fulani people entered Ilorin, Afonja saw that most of them were cattle rearers. They were calm, quiet, and knew how to care for animals very well. They had a special way with their cows and could even calm the wildest beast. At that time, the Oyo army was known for its strong cavalry. The horses were big, fast, and powerful, but not many people knew how to take good care of them. So Afonja had an idea. "You take care of your cows well," he told the Fulani. "Can you also care for our horses?" The Fulani agreed. They began to feed, clean, and train the horses. They treated the horses with the same care they gave their cattle. Before long, the horses became healthier and well-trained. Afonja was pleased. His army grew stronger, and the Fulani found a place in Ilorin. It seemed like a small decision at the time, but it would change everything in the years to come. As time went on, Alimi and Afonja grew closer. They built a strong bond together, and while Afonja focused on the political aspect of power, he left the spiritual section to Alimi. Though Afonja was warned by his loyal advisor Ologolo not to give outsiders too much power, Afonja didn't listen and even allowed Alimi to bring in Fulani fighters into his ranks. At first, they brought victory after victory. Afonja's fame reached new heights. But over time, these warriors began to outnumber Afonja's own men. Afonja remained true to his traditional beliefs and did not convert to Islam, creating tension as Shehu Alimi believed that if Afonja converted to Islam, others Yorubas would also convert. When wars ceased, these idle soldiers known as the Jammas turned to raiding the very people of Ilorin. The people of Ilorin reported this to Afonja, and Afonja tried to stop them, but they no longer obeyed him. He realized, too late, that his power had been stolen from within. "I was warned," he said to himself. Realizing the problem at hand, he gathered what was left of his loyal army. "We must take back our town," he declared. A battle broke out between Afonja and the Jammas. Blood filled the streets. In a fierce clash, Afonja was killed with a lot of arrows piercing through him. He knelt down, clinging to his spear while refusing to exit the land of the living. With his final breath, he cried, "Let my blood wash away the curse placed on our people." Afonja died that day, but his spirit did not fade. After his death, Shehu Alimi's son, Abdusalam, declared himself Emir of Ilorin. He pledged loyalty to the Sokoto Caliphate in the north, and from then on, Ilorin was ruled not by Yoruba kings, but by Fulani emirs. And so ends the tale of Afonja, the general, the rebel, and the lion of Ilorin. Some call him a hero who dared to fight against oppression. Others call him a traitor, whose choices opened the door of the empire to ruin. What would you call him? Thanks for watching, and see you in the next story.